Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. What am I talking about when I say basic human rights? I'm talking about your wants, I'm talking about your needs, and I'm talking about your desires being met while you are here on this earth. Meaning basically that you get a chance to live dreams rather than just dream them. And you can do that in peace, be prosperous and free, happy and joyous, and yes, live. Well, some time ago, ladies and gentlemen, I thought, based upon that basic evaluation of life, that the American people wanted that kind of life. I'd heard them on television, I heard them on radio on Sunday mornings talking about it. And then I grew up in the church. And so we talked about how wonderful God is and how God prepared that all things should be satisfied and that they weren't because of the evil that goes on in this world. I noticed, however, that most of the time when they talked about evil going on in this world, they usually talked about other people causing that evil to exist, and that they themselves who were sitting up in that church that day or who were at that program that day or night, that they were excluded. They played no part in the hellishness that exists today. Well, there are some things that exist. Not everybody experiences them, but many people do. They cause sickness, diseases, because of lack of health care. It's called ignorant because of lack of education, true education. It's all being evil because you don't know the truth. It's talking about being a racist and bigotry and all that other ugly stuff, lying and cheating. And, this is just another concept of life. Now, when I think about the two, I would rather the first. And however, I had no idea that human beings, especially guys that I grew up with, during the time that I grew up, having Dr. King as a mentor, we knew that we would definitely want to live in a better world than the world that we had experienced all of our lives. And so we lived on, we had a little fun. When you're young, in your 20s, early 20s, sometimes you want to have a little fun. You want to be able to do the kinds of things that you didn't have access to before. Now some of you have gone to school, got a little bit of education, got a little chance to make more than minimum wage. And so you're kind of looking up. You want to go out, laugh, do this, do that. But then there comes a time when you're out there doing this and doing that, depending upon how you were raised, you might not be satisfied with the way things are happening. You might start seeing things that others don't see. And you start caring and hoping that things would happen. Maybe you even start thinking that God would come and do something. Then you realize that God doesn't do stuff like that God finds individuals to use to do things that God wants done. And so, having recognized the cruelty of our ways, I decided that I'd like to, as Dr. King would say, or Malcolm X would say, or Jesus would say, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Now, that means basically that those things that I mentioned to you first are the kinds of things that would happen in heaven. And so I started speaking on those terms. Later years, when Bill Clinton first ran for his first presidential campaign, I ran against him. When I say ran against him, I stood up and told the American people a different plan, told the American people a different proposal. I must admit that the things that I just got through sharing with you were so unimportant to people. People were so uninterested in it that every time I tried to say it, I had to do it as a write-in. I had to write to newspapers, write to radio stations, write to different agencies and ask them that they would put a post up, receive a post up, do some advocacy for the cause if they felt it to be true. And it didn't matter. When Bill ran for a second term, I stood up because I knew Bill Clinton had no answers. And then when the Bush came in, I knew Bush had no answers, so I did the same thing, and I had to do it the same kind of way. I had to say, write me in, ladies and gentlemen. The masses, the people that have the power, the people that controls this and that, the people that controls our lives does not want you to hear this message, so they are not going to do anything. And to me, I'm thinking this message is so fantastic that all of the money plans that's been practiced, we just cut that stuff loose. Tell the people what these other candidates are offering. Tell them what this campaign is offering, and let the people make a choice. And I'm without a doubt thinking that they would choose what they really want. Well, I didn't stop there. They didn't hear anything. Then Barack Obama came. Black man. Everybody thinking that he would be an answer. But I didn't think he'd be an answer. I don't know anything about him except what's happening since he decided to run for president. Now I heard that he was working in the community, stuff like that, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But I also felt in my spirit that he had no idea about how to fix the society, what would be engaging to fix the society. And so I ran against Barack Obama twice. But I didn't just stop there. I ran against Donald Trump. And you know, you never heard of me before. Man, don't let me talk on radio and stuff unless I come on YouTube or some Facebook. Why? Because I tell you something that you might listen to, especially when times are as they are today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I look back, I see myself out there talking about the first things that I spoke to you about. And then I see Donald Trump coming out there talking and causing those second things that I talked to you about. Nobody heard a word from me, and they heard everything that Donald Trump says. In fact, they can't get enough of it. It's been what? He didn't get the 8 years like everybody else. He got 4 in, and so far we got 3, and he's working on that 4th one out. He's still 8 years. And he's talking nothing but devilishness. And by the time his term is over, that 8th year, you, the people, would have changed. Because if he ever gets another opportunity, you can bet you will freeze in fear. You will freeze in fear. That requires me repeating. Yes, you would freeze in fear. You are here bound in the society. You are here bound in this world, as evil as it can be, because you have been convinced that this is everything. This is as good as it gets. And you know you don't accept this, then they got some stuff for you. They got all kind of humiliations for you. They got jails and prisons for you. Not only that, they even kill you as individuals, and they will destroy you as nations if they got the power. Anybody that got the big stick will use it to control and manipulate you. And nobody's gonna beat you and make you do right. You just don't do right, and they love it because they benefit from where you fail. So I was thinking, you know, why do we want to go through all of this? Because we don't want to die. We don't want to die. And so because we don't want to die, I think I heard somewhere in the Bible, they were talking about the apple, the snake, the whatever, the other voice, the inner voice was asking the garden. They said, you would die? You surely die? You won't surely die. So right there, you know you get the alternative truth, and you won't surely die. And so that's practice, going against everything and making sure that they utilize everything. See, because people who are of the one mindset that I spoke to you about the first, they care. They are not ready to hurt you or to be hurt by you. The second mindset will hurt you in a heartbeat. And whatever it takes to be successful in whatever they're trying to do, they'll do it. And what is easier is what they'll do. What is easiest is what they'll do. Some smart and they'll go to school and get the paper. Others will break the laws, do whatever has got to be done. And then they are called awful men. They are called innovative. And you decide that you don't do these kinds of things, and next thing you know, you're sleeping in a tent in the snow, and the top is blue. And the world goes right on stepping over you every day. And there are those who are saying, this is wrong, this is wrong. There are those who are saying that the migrants are saying, this is wrong to be doing that, but they can't come over here. We can't do this, we can't fix this. See, you don't know the answer because you've been living a lie your whole dead blasted life. And somebody comes toward you and tell you a truth, and you start knowing that got to be a lie because it sure ain't what you saying. And for that, you are willing to do anything to make sure that your way continues. And if you're afraid to die, as we who are living apparently are, We'll just bend and say, God knows our heart. God gonna look at us. But let me tell you something about God. God has a force out here. It's a natural force. They call it nature. And right now, nature's doing some wonderful things for some and devastating things to others. Nature, through the form of earthquakes, through the form of volcanic eruptions, through the forms of sinkholes, from the forms of the tornadoes and the storms, and Lord have mercy, the tsunamis. They come anywhere. You can't build a wall too big for them to come over. And what do? They got so much force, they take your cars, they take your homes, they take everything that you thought was important, everything you committed your life to make sure that you got. Now he is flowing down the street somewhere or down over somebody's lawn, because we don't know where the street is, but you can see it. You can see it. It's so thick that people who are trying to survive the waters will get up and walking across top of houses as they flow on down the path. That's nature. And I guarantee you, when nature comes through and whip a butt, it's like the Tower of Babel falling. What you gonna do now? Who's you gonna come to my rescue? Who's my friend? Is the government my friends? Whose side am I on? Did I take this team or did I join this team? Am I lost? Who cares? Well, if you want to fix that, you can do everything you possibly can, but then if it is, it will be. And if it's not, it won't. They tell me that Jesus lived. A lot of folks don't believe that. And they say you can't get any better than that, as they depicted it. But you know what? Jesus is still living and things haven't changed. That Jesus that you talk about hasn't changed at all. And the one that hung on the cross, what do you think he's hanging down the cross for? Why do you think he's hanging down the cross? Somebody said, to save you. No, you look up there in your mind right now. I want you to look up there at Jesus. In your mind, look up there at Jesus hanging. It says some of his disciples hung upside down, but I want you to just look at Jesus in there hanging. And what is he hanging for? Because he told you the truth. And these liars, these demonic forces who are up hanging, sticking nails, are your bosses. That's who you give allegiance to. But this image that you saw before you was telling you all the time that this is fake. All of the stuff in the world just fake to keep you a slave. You talking about people talking about the fake news. This is a fake earth. This is a fake world. There's nothing about it that's good. And everybody has found some way to exist with it and say it's okay. Well, when you grow up, something happens. And it doesn't really bother you. You really don't want to die either. You want to stay around, but you want to stay around with people who have changed and who are ready to live. And then if that's not the case, then you're not in control of that anyway. But when your time comes, when whoever's responsible for your being here wants you to come on out of this hell, you'll come on out of this hell. And I hope if you're coming on out of this hell, it's because you have graduated. Well, don't think that when you grow up that people are gonna like you. Nope. They'll pretend, but they won't.